Don't underestimate the aerodynamic qualities of a generic goblin noise. Yeah.
Hey gang, just to let you know, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com and originalmagicart.store. Using the code gets you 10% off orders $10 or more, and you get to help out the channel at the same time. I also want to let you know, from December 30th to January 2nd, when you use the promo code MTGMudsta, you get 15% off orders of $10 or more, with only a few exceptions. Also, as of today, December 31st until January 28th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this means during that time frame, if you place an order for over $10 or more, you'll be given one entry into a giveaway for Ravnica Allegiance Booster Box. It's one entry per person, so good luck and have fun. Now I know what you're thinking, my voice sounds more rugged and handsome than it normally does, and that's unfortunately because I've been gargling with sand. In all honesty, unfortunately I'm at the tail end of a cold. I feel fine, but unfortunately my voice hasn't caught up yet. This week's game has Tom playing his Gyrus deck, and he keeps a Forest, a Swamp, Swiftfoot Boots, Myriad Landscape, Runescar Demon, Verdurous Gearhulk, and Psionic Resonator. I am playing my Mistform Ultimus deck, keeping 3 Islands, Marrow Harbinger, Long-Term Plans, Sage of Fables, and a Thought Vessel. Romain, who is new to the channel, is playing his Muldrotha deck, keeping Command Tower, Yavimaya Coast, Evolving Wilds, Diabolic Intent, Mind Stone, Swiftfoot Boots, and Path of Discovery. Skylar, who's also new to the channel, is playing his Ghave deck, keeping Spider Silk Armor, Serra's Sanctum, Doubling Season, Aura Shards, a Forest, Path to Exile, and Ashes of the Abhorrent. I win the die roll, and I start us off. I play an Island, and I pass. Tom plays a tapped Myriad Landscape. Romain plays an Evolving Wilds, and cracks it, passing to Skylar. Skylar plays a Forest, and he passes. I awkwardly look where the glare is, something I should have done earlier, and unfortunately find it in the direct middle. I play an Island, and I cast Thought Vessel, passing to Tom. Tom plays a Verdant Catacomb, cracking it and taking 1 to go and find a Cinder Glade. Romain plays a Yavimaya Coast as his land for turn, and he pays 2 to cast a Mind Stone. Skylar plays a Serra's Sanctum, but as he can't tap it for mana, he has to discard, and Ashes hits the graveyard. I play a Nykthos as my land for turn, and I cast Marrow Harbinger. This lets me go find a Merfolk card and put it on top, which just so happens to be Marrow Reejerey at this point. I then pass to Tom. Tom plays a Swamp, and he casts Kadama's Reach. He goes to find his basics and passes. Romain plays a Command Tower, and pays 4 to cast Path of Discovery. Skylar draws, but it's not a land, so he has to discard, and he passes. I play another Island for turn, and I cast the Reejerey that I put on top. Moving to combat, I hit Romain for 3, and I pass my turn. Tom plays a Mountain, and he casts Swiftfoot Boots. He then cracks his Landscape, and he passes turn. Romain plays an Island, and he casts Corpse Connoisseur. He discovers with the Path trigger, revealing a non-land card and giving his Connoisseur a +1/+1 counter before going to find a creature card and binning it. He puts a Shambling Shell into his graveyard, and he passes turn. Skylar can't find a land, and has to discard Mirari's Wake, and passes to me. I play an Island, and I cast my Sage of Fables. With the Reejerey trigger, I tap my Nykthos, then untap it, and tap it once more to give me enough mana to cast Mistform Ultimus. This lets me untap with the Reejerey again, and I untap an Island and move to combat. I hit Tom for 5 with 2 of my Merfolk, and I pass my turn. Tom plays a basic for his turn, and Skylar nicely reminds me to put a counter on my Mistform for my Sage trigger. Tom then casts Phyrexian Arena, and he drops a Fierce Empath, going to find a creature that costs 6 or more. He finds a Foily Grave Titan and puts it to his hand. Romain draws and plays a Sylvok Replica in his main phase. He discovers a non-land card and leaves it there, which gives the replica a +1/+1 counter. Moving to combat, he swings what he can and hits me for 4. Skylar draws for turn and can actually cast his Elixir of Immortality. This means he doesn't have to discard, and he passes to me. I play a Sliver Hive as my land for turn, and I activate Nykthos. I then Wizard Cycle my Vedalken Aethermage to go and find Master of the Waves, putting it to my hand. I cast it, untapping an Island with the Reejerey trigger, and gain 5/1/0 elemental tokens. I then move to combat, and Mistform goes at Tom, while Romain takes 3 from the Island Walking Harbinger. Tom loses 1 and draws from the arena, and draws for turn. Tom then pays 6 to cast Grave Titan, and pays 1 more to put the Swiftfoot Boots onto it. He swings the Titan at me, and gains 2 more zombie tokens on the attack trigger. I decide to just take the hit, and I lose 6 life. Romain draws and casts a Dreamborn Muse. He discovers an Animate dead on top, leaving it there, and gives the Muse +1/+1 counter, passing to Skylar. Skylar mills 7, some of which are sadly lands. He then has to draw and discard, passing to me. I mill 2 on my upkeep to the Dreamboard trigger, and I draw for turn. I'm not a huge fan of this milling business, as my deck has little recursion, so I swing the Mistform, the Harbinger, and my elementals at Romain. He blocks 3 of the tokens, and takes 13 damage. I then pass to Tom. Tom mills 5 and loses 1 and draws from the arena, and for turn. He plays a Smoldering Marsh as his land for turn, and he plays a Reclamation Sage, trying to force the Sylvok to get popped. Tom puts the target on the Sylvok, and wanting to get some value out of it, Romain takes 1 from his Yavimaya Coast to sacrifice it to its own ability to blow up Tom's boots. Tom then casts a Primal Vigor, but I stop it on the stack with a Mystic Confluence, forcing Tom to pay 3 he can't, and drawing 2. Moving to combat, the Grave Titan and 4 zombies come at me. Tom gets 2 more zombies from the attack trigger, and I block 1 zombie token with my Sage of Fables since it's a 3/3, and then take 12. Romain mills himself for a few cards to his Muse trigger, and he dredges the shell back to his hand to mill some more. In his main phase, he casts Deep Freeze on Tom's Grave Titan, as he's gaining way too many zombie tokens for the table's comfort. We then see a Diabolic Intent come out, and he sacrifices the Connoisseur to go and find a card. Skylar mills his 7, and he draws for turn. It's not a land, and he has to discard, passing to me. I mill and draw, playing a Griffin Canyon as my land for turn. I then drop yet another Lord, this time a Master of the Pearl Trident, further pumping my board. Moving to combat, I swing 11 points of damage at Romain, who takes the hit. Tom mills 4, and draws from his arena, losing 1, and for turn. He casts a Runescar Demon, and once again I'm left to answer it with a commit. Tom then casts Key to the City, and he passes. Romain mills some cards, and takes 1 in his main phase to tap the coast and cast an Elephant Grass. He then casts his Core Tribe Elder, discovering Sidisi off the top, and putting a +1/+1 counter on his Elder. Skylar mills 7, and once again draws no lands. He has to discard, and he passes turn. I mill as well, and I play an island in my main phase. I activate Nykthos for 7 blue mana, and use 4 of it to cast a Phyrexian Metamorph as a copy of Master of Waves. I get another bunch of elemental horsewater token things, and I pass my turn. At the end of my turn, Tom activates his key to give a zombie unblockable and discards his Virtuous Gearhulk. Tom mills 2 for his turn, and then loses 1 to the arena, drawing from it, and for turn. He recasts the Runescar Demon, which I have to let resolve, and he goes to tutor for a card as it enters the battlefield. Tom then casts a Strionic Resonator, and he passes. At the end of Tom's turn, Romain sacrifices his Elder to go and find a basic. Romain mills on his upkeep, and he lets his Elephant Grass die. He then casts a Muldrotha in his main phase, who triggers the Path of Discovery. It's a land card, and it goes to his hand. Skylar mills his 7 with more lands, but he does manage to draw 1, and he slams a Mistfilled Plains down, which comes in tapped. At the end of his turn, I make a Sliver token with my Sliver Hive. I mill 1 for my turn, and I play an island. Moving to combat, I swing 15 points of damage that has Island Walk at Romain, and 8 of my 3/2 elementals at Tom. Tom blocks 2 of my elementals, which kills 1, and takes 18, while Romain unfortunately dies to my Merfolk. Tom loses 1 to his arena trigger, and draws from it, and for turn. He casts Grave Pact in his main phase, and I respond to it by removing a counter from Mistform to draw a card, thanks to my Sage of Fables. It resolves, and Tom then moves to combat, swinging everything at me. I block with my Mistform, the Sliver, the Sage, and the Master of the Pearl Trident, and make another Sliver to block the Grave Titan. I only take 6 damage, but Tom loses 4 creatures, forcing me to sacrifice 4 of my own, and we say goodbye to some elemental horses. In his second main phase, Tom casts Evolutionary Leap, and sacrifices 1 of his zombies to it. I lose another horse, and Tom reveals off the top until he hits a creature. He hits a Sifter Worm, and he puts it to hand. Tom then sacrifices another zombie to the leap, and I sacrifice another horse. Tom then reveals until he hits Rebel Hulk, and he passes turn. Skylar draws for turn, but it isn't a land. Thankfully, it's an Evolutionary Leap, which means he can cast it, and his Sanctum can now tap for mana, and he passes turn. I draw for turn, and I drop a Thran Dynamo, and then a Hedron Archive back to back. I then move to combat, swinging everything but Mistform and the Reejery at Tom, who instead go at Skylar. Before moving to blockers, Skylar uses his now active Sanctum to cast Path to Exile on my Regery. This lets me go and find an island, and Tom then blocks with his 2 zombies, but it's not enough to keep him around. Unfortunately, with the zombies dying to my fish, I also have to sacrifice 2 creatures still. Skylar takes 6 from the Mistform, and in my second main phase, I sacrifice the Hedron Archive to draw 2 cards. With nothing else, I pass turn. Skylar keeps the enchantment train rolling, this time with an Aura Shards, and he passes turn. I play an island, and I cast Swiftfoot Boots. I then move to combat, swinging everything at Skylar for 9. This means another 4 commander damage is dealt, and in my second main phase, I cast Long-Term Plans, and I pass. Skylar draws, and he casts Forgotten Ancient. With it coming in, he blows up my boots, and he passes turn. I cast Arcane Adaptation in my main phase, having all of my creatures become a wizard. Skylar's Ancient gains a +1/+1 counter, and I swing everything at him once more. He blocks my Master of the Pearl Trident, taking 7 with 4 of it being commander damage. Skylar drops a Plains for his turn, and is slowly clawing his way back into this game. He casts a Spider Silk Armor in his main phase, gaining another counter on his Ancient. He then passes, and at the end of turn, I make a Sliver with my Sliver Hive. For my turn, we go to combat once more, and I swing everything at Skylar. He blocks the Mistform with his now beefier Ancient, and takes 6 damage from the rest. I pass, and at the end of my turn, Skylar cracks his Elixir of Immortality, shuffling his graveyard in, and gaining 5 life. Skylar draws for turn, and he casts a Doubling Season in his main phase, adding another counter to his Ancient. He passes, and at the end of turn, I make another Sliver. I draw for turn, and I cast a Zombie in my main phase after using Nykthos to pay for her. I then tap my 2 Sliver Wizards to draw 2 cards, and Tom points out that my Mistform is also a Mutant Ninja Turtle, which was printed in 2003, making it roughly 15 years old. I then drop a Scion of Una to pump Mistform even more, and Skylar gets more counters on his Ancient. I then cast a Shapesharer, and the Ancient gets larger still. Skylar draws, and he plays a Swamp for turn. This gives him enough mana to cast Absent Angel of Hope, which is ironic, as with her out, and the longer the game goes, the less hope I have of winning. Skylar then passes, and at the end of turn, I tap 4 Wizards to draw 4 cards. I then tap 2 more Wizards, and draw 2 more cards. We also realize Skylar should have blown something up, and he blows up my Thran Dynamo. I play an island for my turn, and I cast Distant Melodies, naming Wizards. I draw 8 cards, and unable to find an answer in them, I then tap my 2 Slivers to draw 2 more. I still can't deal with Skylar's board, so I cast Unesh, but thankfully I get there with the Mini Factor Fiction. I grab and cast Cryptic Command, tapping Skylar's creatures and bouncing his Ancient, which allows me to swing for lethal. Game review time. So my voice is feeling a little bit better, as you may or may not be able to tell, so we'll review this game very quickly. Mistform once again performed very admirably, and it's probably the only mono blue deck that I'll ever play. Unfortunately for Skylar, he didn't really get into the game until the end, but his resolution of Avacyn made me really start sweating. I was already low enough that if he'd swung twice with it, I would have been dead, and it would have been his game. So as soon as she hit the field, I was digging for an answer for her. I'd never seen the card Elephant Grass before Romain played it on his turn, and the main reason that I killed him over Tom was because once it was gone, I had an open window that didn't require me to pay billions of mana to swing in and attack him. In a similar vein, I think if Tom had cast Gyrus and swung with him, bringing back his Sepulchral Primordial, he could have stolen Skylar's Elish Norn that had been sitting in his graveyard, and I think that would have set me back far enough to steal the game away. Of course, it's easy for me to point these things out since I've already won the game and it's over, but these are a few of the thoughts that I had. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.